Hi, Mark Diaz here for 2danimation101.com. In this video, we're going to talk about the last of the elements of a good drawing, which is going to be curves. This is very important to understand because if you're a beginner, you're going to miss out if you don't know how to calculate or measure how good or bad your curves are. So let's take a simple example. This is from a student called Puchiko. And as you can see, this is supposed to be an oval, right? But the drawing is looking more like a rhombus, right? So the way we need to fix this is by understanding the curves. So in this case, the actual drawing should be more like this, right? Not like this, but more like this. So how can you measure or calculate and compare? Because also, as we saw in the last lesson, we also noticed that the shading is bad because the top part should be darker and the lower part should be lighter. And we can see the same spectrum. But right now, let's focus only on the curves. So let's see another example. Now, this is the reference we need, right? As you can see, it's not a rhombus. It's rounded. It should be rounded. And this is done by another student. His nickname is Ryu. And as you can see, in here, we have, this is the reference. And in here, we almost got it right. But this curve is a little bit off. Just a little bit off. So how do you calculate it? Okay, here's one way. Let's go back to this example because it's gonna be easier to understand it. As you can see, let me go to the reference. In the reference, I see this point right here, right? And what I'm gonna do, actually, let me zoom in a little bit. Let me zoom like this. So it's gonna be a little bit clearer. Look. What I do is identify the point from which the circle is going to be starting, and then identify the second point towards which that curve is going to go, right? And now here's what I do, something you can do to measure. You put those two lines and then draw a 45 angle line that is going to cut, and then you measure how deep or how soft the curve is by knowing where that line is. So let me, maybe in here something like, what did he just say? Let's do the example so we can understand it perfectly. So what I do is I just cut in a 45 degree, right? So I keep cutting and I keep cutting, and as you can see, right there I stop. And as you can see, it's only a little corner, right? And then from that corner, oh, okay, I understand that I just cut the edge. Let me redo this in here. And as you can see, it's only a little part like this. And then the circle starts around from here. And so I know that it should go something like this, right? That's the curvature. Now, if we go back to this, let's draw in this vertical line and then the horizontal one. And then from here, remember, it should only be a little area like this. And so the curve should go all the way from there to here, only leaving a little space. Can you see? Let me know in the comments if this is making sense. And so the top part, I'm just doing it by intuition. But how did you get this intuition? Again, you get to that intuition when you measure what I just did. You just measure it again and again and again, and then you start to feel it. Like, no, the curve, it should go a little bit like this. So all these 9 elements, I'm closing this series right now in this video. All these 9 elements close like this. You remember, everything is to help your disobedient hand. And the way you help it is you find the measurements and then you tell your hand, no, 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 not that way, this way. And then your hand, you will notice as you start developing your intuition and measuring again and again and again, you will notice that your hand suddenly starts to listen. It goes like this way? Yes, that way. You're doing great. And then your hand continues. And remember, a lot of the time, you sometimes can get like maybe the curves in this drawing, what did Puchiko did correctly? Okay, so this is something he did correctly. Can you guess? Well, one of the things is the spacing. The spacing is perfect. You saw a couple of exercises done by other students where the spacing was wrong. But in here, yeah, the curves are wrong, yes. And the shading is also wrong, but the lines are kind of clean, right? I would put some kudos for that. And the spacing is also correct. And if he's drawing the face, and let's pretend this was also the face, and the eyes are also in the perfect position, then the placement would also be correct. Okay, so I'm drawing a mess, but the thing is, it's good to know which elements you're good at it. So you can keep doing what works for you, what is correct, but don't say, my drawing is horrible, I'm so miserable. Don't suffer. Just figure out, okay, yeah, I didn't get correct this, and this, but I did correct the placement, the spacing, and the clean lines, and maybe the shading. So give yourself some points for that. Now, if you want to download this as a checklist, just click the link below and you will have access to this checklist in which you can basically put a score from 1 to 10 for each one of the 9 elements for your drawings. And at the end, you just sum them all up and divide them by 9, and that gives you a score for your drawing. Or you can also go to 2d101.com/score, and then you can get this simple calculator in which you can just insert the numbers. Again, from 1 to 10 is the same as the checklist, but in here, for example, let's say you have as an 8 or a 6, and then the spacing was terrible, etc. And then at the end, let's pretend you have a couple of 10s, and at the end you have a final score. So this is a way to do this automatically for you if you want it fast. Okay, so that's it for this video. Now in the next one, we're gonna talk about the importance of consistency. See you in the next video.